Let's talk about baked cats. Um, yeah, I don't know what to think about these things. They, I don't know. I got a lot of kind of pushback on one of the last videos I did and talking about crops farmers, dapps, and how they're doing a new Phantom one. I didn't agree that they should be, releasing all these dapps. And, I'm seeing a lot less being put into these because people are tired of them not being sustainable and just kind of moving all over the place, and people just get tired of that. They get tired of one good thing coming out and then it being blasted all over the place and having 50 different options that do the exact same thing, and then they see contract balances go down across the board. And when stuff like that happens, it's hard to build one good DApp that has that functionality, and then focus on the marketing, focus on the promotion, building a community. There's all this stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes where, I'm not trying to just rip on Crops Farmer because I've seen so many other people do this. And, everybody copies everybody and it goes all over the place, and, everybody's balance starts dropping, and, everybody screams rug pull and all this stuff. But the problem is everybody's jumping into these things that are all over these different chains, all over the place. They do the exact same thing. So they're, these guys that come out and say, well, we're sustainable, and they have no real mechanism built into the contract that provides sustainability. And until that's built into the contract itself, and there's actually, some kind of outside source that is substantial enough to support a balance, they're gonna all do the exact same thing. So when I say Crops Farmer is launching on an FTM, and I don't agree that they should be launching all of these chains, it's because they're basically fragmenting their own user base. And when I see people say, well, we need to diversify. Well, you don't need to diversify all of your investment into 5 things that do the exact same thing. That's not really diversifying your risk or your investments. You're basically throwing a chunk of money and spreading it across 5 things that do the same thing. Now, so if somebody's like, hey, these are sustainable, then put up and prove that it's sustainable. Don't sit there and launch across other networks, pocket the dev fee, and keep moving on and doing the same thing over and over again. We saw it in the ROI days, the Manic Stakers, the FOMO dapps, and then Baked Beans came along, and everybody's copied that like 50,000 times, and they all do the same thing. They adjust, the rate to go up or down, or, they crank up the dev fee, which doesn't do anything, just makes a bunch of people, less money, and the devs richer. I don't know. There's nothing in here. There's nothing changing in these contracts to make them more sustainable. There really is not. So when I see Crops Farmer, they put these guardrails in place. They built something great, and then they just copy it and paste it across different chains. And that's not doing anything for crops farmers. It's not really helping anything. It's not providing any more sustainability. Case in point, USDC crops farmer balance is now going down because everybody, is, looking at the new shiny thing of BNB. They go over there and look at that and, start dumping into that, and USDC crops farmer gets ignored. Now the Phantom one's coming up, so all the hype's gonna be around the Phantom one, and all these things they absolutely require new investment coming in. These things are not creating new value. They're not mining things. You're mining the balance that is put in there by other investors that are investing. So they require new investment coming in. So if you spread all your dapps across 4 different chains, and you have 4 or 5 dapps, it's hard to promote one of those and really build up the community, build up the marketing and the promotion where its share of the mining space grows higher over time, and the balance continues to go up. So that's why I'm against them launching across other chains. It's fragmenting the base. It's going to slow the increase of new deposits across all of them. Everybody will jump in early on the next one that comes out, and just sit there and wait and reap rewards from the past ones, and then fewer people will be getting in the old ones, and because there's no promotion, there's no reason to jump in one of the old ones, because in a day or two a new one will come out, so I want to be first in that one. So I don't know, if you got something good, promote it and make it big. Don't just copy your own stuff and throw it across chains just to pocket the dev fee across all of them. That's my view. I mean, I got a lot of pushback in the last one, and it's just the fact of how these things work. These are not, they're nothing like secret. There's nothing, secret behind the scenes going to make more money. Your rewards in those are not guaranteed, and it absolutely requires new investors to be coming in. So when you dump, 5 other dapps on the market, that's less share coming to that dapp, and you're kind of cannibalizing your own new investments coming in when you do it to yourself. That being said, guys, I promised I would talk about baked cats. This is another one that, it's a copy of Crops Farmer, and I just wanted to go through the code. So let's look at this. We have obviously, we can see baked cats is over here on the left. BUSD Crops Farmers here on the right. That's what I'm comparing these to, for 2 reasons. One, they're both BUSD, and 2, this one over here, this is the BUSD Crops Farmer. It is the only one that's been audited out of all the Crops Farmers dapps. This contract is the only one that's been audited. Whenever they launch the new ones, they keep just pointing back to the old audit, and I'll do a video on that later where we can look at the differences between the contracts, and I'll tell you it's high time that they audit the new code base, because it is getting very different. So they need to if they make any changes to the contract, they need to get a new audit. They need somebody else to look over it, because if you're trusting that they didn't make any changes that could rug pull, over $1 million in that B&B contract, and if for some reason they snuck in a method or something there and never got it audited, and they just point back to the BUSD one, they could take over $1 million if that was in that contract. So yeah, guys, don't just assume everybody in DeFi is trustworthy. You should suspect, everybody could do anything. And I hope when I launch my new dapp that people are critical of my code and ask questions and want to know why functions are there and what's going to happen and things like that. And I'll be open and honest about it. So that is why I'm comparing it to that BUSD one on the Crops Farmer. So let's go through and see any differences. First, verified on BSC scan, date. They had some little ASCII art for their name, whatever. The contract is different. This is funny because you can see that they copied it exactly and changed an address, because even this commented address is the same. So yeah, anyway, I think that's just the testnet address. Anyway, let's see. They added a space over here. They changed the miners to provide a higher return, which I don't know how you can give 15% away and think you're going to be more sustainable. They upped the referral reward to 10% instead of 8%. That's since changed because they can change that calling a method. The way they do taxes on these things are kind of hokey, and I hate it because they introduce a layer of complexity that doesn't need to be there, and they could make it look like they're getting less than they're actually getting. This actually works out to almost a 10% tax spread across 3 different wallets. Let's see what else changed here. They have a higher limit on how much you can deposit, or sorry, lower. It's 2,000 instead of 10,000. Let's see, compound max times. Yeah, it is 12 times instead of 10, the max, which I think is good, so they could up that if they needed to. The amount of times you need to compound without that withdraw. So this one is set at 10 initially on the contract. This one was set at 5 in the code, and they could change that later using a method, and they have since done that, so it's 10 and 10. One thing that I do like is they set this to be 36 hours for the cutoff instead of the 48 hours, which I actually like that one. And then these are the ones that are, these ones are just so weird. They set up all these addresses, and this one is actually on all of the crops farmers dapps. They put all the fees and they split it up and throw it across all these different wallets. And I absolutely hate that, because there's no reason you need a dev 1, 2, 3, 4, marketing and owner and blah blah. You know, maybe a dev, an owner, and a marketing wallet. You know, that's kind of what I'm thinking. This whole owner, treasury, dev, marketing, it's laid out better because it's very specific to what they do. But that's just a lot of, you know, wallets to be throwing money out at. Yeah, I think it actually ups the gas fees as well when you pay for gas. So let's see. Yeah, just constructor that sets variables. That's nothing crazy or new. They changed some of the method names. If you notice, they just changed these method calls, because that's what's going to show in the contract as methods. And so they can leave all the contract or the stuff saying, you know, eggs and whatever, but they can just change these contract the function names, and then that's what will show. Instead of eggs, it'll be cats. So same thing, they changed that. They just added messaging if you try to do something before the contract starts. Just some comment change. This change adds some messaging here, not a big deal. Removed a comment, changed that name. And this is where everything's paid out. So it takes, you know, the value of the tax coming in, and it divides it up and then sends it to all these wallets. As you can see, the crops farmer dapps are sending to all these different wallets, and it's like a fraction of each one. And yeah, I don't know. I think the whole thing is kind of hokey that they're sending to all these different wallets. I think it's just kind of lazy. I mean, track your wallets, guys, and split it up instead of, you know, making people pay higher gas fees to send all these different wallets. Just send it to one wallet and then divide up your marketing budget with your profit worth divided by the treasury and stuff. You know, I think obviously treasury should be separate, because that should actually be very transparent. But all these other wallets, like, I don't know. I hate this. I hate this dev 1, 2, 3, 4. It just makes it very, you know, basically they're just sending all these fees out to all these different wallets, and it's hard to track like 4 of those plus a marketing wallet. And I don't know. Maybe the crops farmer guys can like tell us why they're doing this. Like, I don't get why you're throwing out all these numbered wallets. It's weird. Yeah, this is just messaging, initialization of the eggs and stuff like that. Let's see what else is different here. yeah, changing the wallets. So the reason they have these are actually good. A lot of people are like, hey, they can change these anytime. It's like, well, yeah. If anybody's had a wallet compromised or something, you don't want like the dev wallet being compromised, and then not being able to switch it out to something different in case something does get compromised. It's actually very necessary. So, but when you have all these different wallets, you have to have all these different methods to change these wallets in case one of them gets compromised. So that's just the fact of what happens. Yeah, and this just changes things. These guys, yeah. The BUSD one, they can go up to 12% returns. The cats one, it can go up to 18%. So be very well of that. Very well aware of that they can crank up the returns to 18%. The tax, instead of 10% max, they can go to 20% max on the tax that's charged. So another one to be very well aware of. This one is the compound step. They put a little limitation that has to be less than or equal to 24, so not a big deal, and then just a comment block at the bottom. So that's everything, guys. That's everything that's going on with bait cats. There's nothing like mechanically different. It's basically how they do fees and what wallets they go to. But other than that, they add some messaging around, contract starting. There's nothing crazy about it. A lot of people, the problem is a lot of people jump in these things at the first minute or two, and the balance compared to the market eggs is going up at a crazy rate because the market eggs don't go up as you deposit, and there's no withdrawals coming out, there's no nothing coming out. So yeah, that ratio gets changed, but it's varying wildly because if you get in the first minute, it might be very different than you get in 2 minutes later because that ratio is that much different. So that's kind of people get in like, well, I got this many farmers and I got this many, and it's very different. It's like, well, yeah, it's gonna be because the ratio between those two values is gonna be very different and can be within minutes. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, guys, that's kind of what's going on with let's look at bait cats. And this is one thing that I found is very interesting. I put in $10 just to try it and see what happens. And when I put $10 in, it shows me that my estimated daily return is $2.18. Like that's more than 15%, guys. That's like 21% that I'm making on this thing. Yeah. So I'm not saying this is going to keep going because as time goes on and then as sales start happening, that this number is going to change, my daily return. But when they're saying 15.02, you used to say just 15 even. This is 21%. This stuff is not sustainable. It's only going to it'll only pay out what it brought in. That's just the facts of it. And if this thing just pumps up the first day, I honestly don't think it's going to go very high. It's at 31,000 right now. I don't know, maybe it'll go up. Yeah, it's already had its kind of initial pump from the launch, so I don't think it's going to go up crazy high. So if I were to pick between this one and the BUSD one, the BUSD one has, its balance is still going up slightly, but it has a much larger cushion because it's over $1 million. And this one, bait cats, that 15%, it's going to drain much faster because those rewards are so much higher. unless they manually go in there and change that, which they could. They can change that return rate. So that's just something to be aware of, guys. That's just the information I have. I will leave a link to this. It's a referral link. I'm not saying you should jump into this. You know, I'm warning you. It's very high risk. You could lose. You can not make your return on investment back on this. So be very careful. This isn't financial advice. I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't do with your crypto or money or anything. I'm just providing this information. Anyway, guys, like the video if you like it. Hit subscribe if you want to subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.